Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to show you our JDE integrated solutions. And specifically, we're going to focus on our employee self-service, manager self-service. The foundation of the solution is that it's real-time integrated with JD Edwards. So in fact, all of our solutions. In fact, why don't I go to, well, before I do that, I'm going to introduce my team. My team, it's myself as the sales manager. Matt Minchek is our product manager. He's going to be giving the demo today. And then Suman Prasad is our chief architect. He's here too. And I'm going to quickly go through the 9 slides, and we're going to get right to the demonstration. And I just want to validate with everybody right now, do you have a hard stop in 1 hour? Because that's not an issue. I just want to make sure that we stay on track. Okay, we'll focus on the 1 hour time frame. So with that, just a little bit about our company. We're over 10 years old. All of our applications are based on a foundation called EASYProcess. EASYProcess, and I have a slide, it's a software development platform. What does that mean for functionality? It means that it delivers robust applications like employee self-service. It also means that you, not the vendor, not K-Rise, you can maintain any level of ownership that you want in this software product. Many web products, they go into a phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Almost universally, people work with us in our services group for a phase 1. I'd say half of our customers after phase 1, they become trained in EASYProcess, and they do the ongoing extensions themselves. So as a company, we have a lot of different applications, all JDE integrated based on EASYProcess. For e-commerce, we've got vendor and buyer solutions. And these are very, very robust. Is it like Easy Buyer? It's requisitioning. So Windstream is an example, a big telecommunication company. They replaced Ariba. The cost of Ariba was so high, they went with Easy Buyer, and they love it. But this area right here, this is what we're going to focus on today, our employee self-service. And this slide, very quickly, I want to assure you that the solution that we're showing today is proven. It's out in the market. You're a big company. You're a $5 billion company, and we have a lot of large companies within our portfolio. So as an example, Fox, and this is Los Angeles Fox. Fox uses our software, all with JD Edwards Enterprise One. Windstream, as I mentioned a second ago, North American construction company. So we've got a lot of established customers. Now let's get right to the things that we're going to show, and I'd appreciate your feedback. And let me go back one. There we go. So I had a discussion with Tim, and he said it's not necessary to show you time entry. You've got a solution in place, homegrown, very customized. But he did mention that for looking at this from the perspective of employees and managers, that you did want employee profile view, change, view or change as an example. Maybe you want employees to be able to update JD Edwards directly with emergency contact, but something, what I mean by field level, something like last name. If they go in their profile and try changing their last name, that's there's bigger ramifications involved. That would involve an approval process. Employee leave request with accrued vacation balance. Obviously, from the manager perspective, everything dealing with approvals, terminate and move employees, benefits enrollment, pay stubs, bank information, tax information. I'm going to pause here, and this is really where Emily, Vivian, And Jason, if you can add your thoughts, is this the right roadmap for the demonstration, or you also add some comments of what you'd like to see with the demonstration? Go right ahead.
I think we're on the right track for this purpose.
Okay, good. Good. And then there's really one other bullet item that I didn't put on this slide, and it's the mobility. So when I say mobility, I'm talking about smartphones, whether it's an Apple iPhone or whether it's an Android phone from Samsung or the many other vendors, or even a Windows smartphone. And I just want to ask the group there the importance of having, beyond desktop and laptop and tablet usage, the importance of having a good mobility solution from your perspective. Vivian, Emily, Jason, would you mind, or Tim, would you mind, adding some thoughts to that?
Sorry, I was on mute. Which part you wanted to?
Well, I just want to ask: is mobility important to you?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because we're going to carve out 10, 15 minutes just on the mobility aspect. But once again, this slide real quick. The important thing you need to understand, especially a company your size, is you're buying an application, and it gets back to my point. You're not dependent on the vendor. It's a software development application, so if you wanted to take your own IT developers and chart the future course yourself, you can, or in conjunction with us. And I just wanted to make that point, because the bigger the company, the more important this is. So with the employee self-service, rather than going through this list here, let's show it to you in a demonstration. Real quick, some of our larger companies using this in Canada. A big Canadian airline is called WestJet. They use J.D. Edwards Enterprise One. Chevron, I've already talked about that. Fox, they use it. And really with that, I'm going to switch the presentation over to Matt, and we'll get right into the presentation. And I just want to do another validate, being this is a virtual meeting. Is everybody seeing a login page with your logo in the upper left?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, we're on track. So we're going to go through the demonstration. We want you to inject any questions or comments as we go through this. I'll make sure we pause every 5 or 10 minutes. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Matt, and he's going to show you the functionality of employee self-service. Go ahead, Matt.
Good. Thanks, Doug. So I'm going to log into our employee self-service portal as Edward. Edward's an employee setup that we have set up in our system. All right. So logging in, we get to the landing page. It's just a brief message and something to note throughout the entire demo. Everything you see here is you can customize everything here, or you can configure everything here. For example, this message, you can actually log in as an admin and change that specific message on the home page.
Well, actually, it goes beyond that. Even the menus, everything is 100% soft coded. So some of the content on all of our web pages, it's just HTML, obviously the logo in that, but every aspect of how you want it to look. As an example, we have a version where people want to include a picture of the employee, especially for those managers that have a lot of employees underneath them, to have a picture as a reference. Other companies, they don't want to deal with the full employee photo, a placeholder for that. In fact, I'm kind of curious, would that be important to you to have, a place card for a photo?
Probably not.
Okay.
Again, our workforce is extremely large on the service worker side.
Okay. That might be hard. Okay, well, but I just want to emphasize that we're showing you one version of the product. out of a million different iterations. In fact, we've carved out a portion of today's session to show you an actual deliverable so you can see an example of this inherent
I'll go through some
flexibility.
of the configurations so we can see some of the
Okay.
configurability. All right, so hopping right in, logging as an employee, I'm going to go to the self-surface, which is, it also double serves as like a My Profile type of thing. So this is where the employee can see all of their information that's stored in JD Edwards, such as personal information, home and postal address, their phone numbers, a view-only tax information, and then also emergency contacts. So there's a brief overview of just your emergency contact's name, who they are to you, and their phone number, and then if you click into details, you can see all of the specific information about that specific contact. And then to edit a contact, you just click this link, and it opens up a pop-up for that specific contact to edit. So before we actually do any changes here, I do want to talk about some of the configurability on this page. So I'm going to log into our configurator.
So this is like the processing options in JD Edwards.
Yes.
And once again, that previous page you saw, that came right from the employee master in JD Edwards.
Yep, all of the data that you see today is real-time directly from JD Edwards. All right, so if I head over to my self-service module, you can see these are all some of the configurations that we have set up for self-service. So the big one is this approval sections. Right now it says personal and postal. If we hit edit, you can see there's checkboxes where you can check which specific sections on the self-service page that actually get submitted for approval. So right now it's just personal details and postal address. So if we hop back over, if we do any change to either this personal information section or the postal address section, that gets submitted for approval. So just as an example, let's try to change my middle name to Paul and then submit that. So that says requested submitted for approval. Any updates that don't require approval have been updated, but we didn't make any of that change. So now when we come back to the page, you can see the middle name is still Herbert, nothing has changed. So now we're going to make a change to home address, which is something that doesn't require approval. Does anyone want to give me an example of some address?
What's your address down there?
8101 Sam Houston, but you can just type in 123 something.
Okay, we'll go 8101 Sam Houston.
Sam Houston.
Right.
All right, so we'll update to that. Submit. So this time when we submit, it should just say update success. It didn't go for approval at all. Also, just to know, all of the updates that we're doing in the portal, they do get executed through the standard JD Edwards business function, so there are no direct database updates or anything like that.
That's a good point. So working through the business functions in JD Edwards it's as if you working directly in the JD Edwards programs were doing this yourself. So any level of customization that you might have done with JD Edwards will be reflected.
Absolutely. And then just to verify the change, I'm going to log into JD Edwards as and look up that address change for that employee. So we'll go to address book revisions. The employee was 6601. Should be Edward. And we will look up the address. And there's the 8101 Sam Houston.
Our apologies to Sam.
Oh.
Calling him Sam.
Close enough.
We're going to pause here. Any questions at this point?
Yeah, you're probably going to show it, but the one that you asked for a name change, I'm assuming that's under my action to look for the status?
Yeah, so if I go to my submitted request, you can see that the latest request here, it got submitted to a manager for approval. And if we log in as a manager, you'll be able to see that request and actually approve it. I'll show you all the submitted approvals once we actually log in as a manager. I don't want to keep switching back and forth.
Okay.
So moving on with the employee, we have confirmation of employment. What this does is it generates employee verification letter, real-time PDF with data that is pulled directly from J.D. Edwards. So if we generate this letter, there's the confirmation of employment letter. It's real-time data such as Social Security number, date of birth, start date, as well as their salary. And then we also have direct deposit. Keep in mind here, all of the requests that we're submitting, including bank account details, have that same configurable workflow. For example, let's hop over to direct deposit module. Here we have the option for the direct deposit to go for a manager approval, or it can go for a role approval, or it can go to both. So if you wanted to go to a role approval, right now it's set up to this role that we have in the system. If we click edit, you can see we have HR and health and medical set up. And then you can actually, if we go to workflow roles, here's where you actually define the role. So a role can be any login in the portal. Right now I just have static users set up, so if we go to edit, you can see I have a user called health and med, and then for HR I have a user just called HR. But you have a lookup here that can look up any user in the system, and they can assign that as the person to that role.
Yeah, I'm going to have a lot more questions to go very granular on the workflow side, but let's go ahead and continue with the demo.
Sure, no problem.
And I'm going to add I'm going to inject a comment right here. Many of our customers, in fact, most of them, implemented J.D. Edwards' native employee and manager self-service. And so here's an example. One of the big reasons why that didn't work with them, and they looked at the partner network and found us, dealt with the flexibility dealing with position and role.
Absolutely.
Right? Why don't you explain that, Matt?
Yeah, one of their biggest problems were, let's take leave for example. Leave in J.D. Edwards, when you submit leave for approval, it only goes to your one manager that's defined in the employee master. Wanted the ability to have that approval be approved by the position above them. So anyone in that position, which could be X number of people, they should be able to approve that employee's leave request. So that's just an example of one of the powers of our workflow.
And then really, especially around the complexity
Yeah,
too,
absolutely.
right? They couldn't duplicate the complexity of their workflow.
We're actually we're gonna log into and we're gonna show you the deliverable. I'll also show you the manage move workflow that they have set up. It's a really, really complex workflow. But moving on with bank account details. So here you have all of your direct deposit accounts that are showing here. Right now we just have our main bank account, which is the remainder of our pay that's deposited here. You have the option to edit that. You can fill out the bank account details. That will execute the business function in the background, which would add that bank account to your list here. So moving on, we have leave requests. So this is essentially an inquiry on all the leave requests that you have submitted in J.D. Edwards. You can see here the leave ID from J.D., the status, the leave type, start and end dates, and then you can also click in and view the details for that leave. So you can see that this specific leave request is submitted for December 2nd, which is a Wednesday, and you can also see how many hours were submitted as well. And then you have the option, since this leave request is pending and not taken, you have the option to cancel the leave request. So we can actually do that, and that will directly update the status in JD Edwards. So there you go. That leave request got updated to decline. And then moving on, we can also request the leave. So I'm going to request vacation for next week, 17th through the 21st. All right, select the days added. And then also, if you see here at the top, we have My Working Days. So this is useful for if you don't actually have an employee working day calendar set up in JD Edwards. This will just kind of default which days actually go to JD Edwards as a leave request. So if we actually, since we have Monday through Friday checked here, if we go to Edit, you can see it only has Monday through Friday. If you tried to add another day, it would just say it's not part of your working days. And then also, if there's some holiday or something that you shouldn't actually submit leave for, you can actually switch that to a non-working day here as well. And one of the configurations that we have for leave is the ability to edit the hours here. Right now, that's turned off, but we have 3 configurations. One is obviously turn it off, don't allow them to edit. The second one is allow them to edit up to their maximum working days or working hours per day. And then the last one is just provide a checkbox here to allow them to either submit a half day or a full day.
Any questions from the group?
Not on leave, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so if we just submit that for approval here, you can see it gives us a leave request ID back. It's 50266, and it should forward us back to our list saying that that was entered into JD Edwards. Okay, yeah. It's the same thing. It goes into JDE as pending, and then it gets submitted to the manager for approval. And then once the manager actually approves, it updates that status to approved. So now if we move on to leave calendar, we can actually see that Edward has submitted leave from the 17th to the 21st. And then also you can add new calendars. You can have multiple instances of calendars. And then you can also specify specific members for a calendar. So this calendar, I believe, just has Edward as a calendar member. But Edward's manager might have, all of their direct reports as a calendar member, showing all the leave requests submitted by all of their direct reports at one time. And then also it's color-coded, so you can see it's pending is gray and approved leave is blue.
And also, if you wanted us to update other calendars, like an Outlook calendar, we could do that too.
Oh yeah, okay. There you go. That's the 50266 leave submitted from the 17th to the 21st. You can see it has a status of pending. Okay, so now moving on to pay stubs. So this is essentially an inquiry of all of your pay stub history in JD Edwards. You have some header level information here, information about the employee, the date for the specific check, the amount of days worked, also net and gross pay. So you have two different options here. You have a link to the check number where you can just view the information, or you can generate a PDF with that pay stub information as well. So this PDF is generated real time with the data directly from JD Edwards. So this is all the detailed information about that specific pay stub, which will add up to the net pay and etc. Okay, were there any questions so far?
Just one general question. Anybody request to do anything with benefit enrollment through this?
Yes, that's a very, we'll get to that. It's at the very bottom of the My Employee.
Okay.
So we'll skip over time entry. I know you guys aren't interested in time entry. Real quickly, we'll go over W-4 revisions. This is essentially where the employee can submit a revision for the W-4 form. This essentially sends out an email where someone can actually manually update this, and then it shows up in this list here. We also have W-2 forms. So this is where the employee can go and view their history of their W-2 forms. So if you click in, it's a PDF of their W-2. And then, as you requested, this is the My Benefits enrollment. So right now you can see that Edward is actually enrolled in dental and pension, which is the 401k. If we hop over to JD Edwards, we can see that as well. Benefits Administration, enrollment with eligibility. We can look up employee 6601. You can see right now Edward is enrolled in dental and 401k. So now if we submit, let's say we want to enroll in life insurance, we can click into enroll. This is where we get all of our benefit options. And then if you were already enrolled, you can select none or opt out. That will submit the request to terminate that benefit option. So we're going to submit this benefit enrollment with life insurance plan 10,000. And you can see here on the right side, we have benefit documents that you can download and actually attach. So life insurance, you obviously need to fill out the form. So if we click this, it opens up a PDF that you can save. So I'm going to save that to my desktop as life insurance application. The employee can, print that, fill it out, scan it, re-upload it as an attachment right here. So first, let's add comments. Please let me know if there's anything else you need. And then we'll re-upload that life insurance application. And then that becomes downloadable as well. So once it's attached, it's associated with this request. So if we hit submit, this specific My Benefits enrollment, we have set up to go to both HR and health and medical. So right now it was submitted, and if we go to My Submitted Requests, we can see that this benefits request was assigned to HR for approval. And then there's the comment that I added as well.
Okay, we're going to pause right now and ask if there's any questions on this.
Yeah, so those enrollment you show is still leveraging the self-service staging table where it have the eligibility of that employee of what he's eligible for based on benefit group and plans and options and so forth?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so now if I log in as HR.
And once again, I want to emphasize, if you have a vision, a process flow, screenshots that are different, that's absolutely no issue for us. We can work with you, and that's why we're going to show you our deliverables, because many times, the look and feel and the process flow for doing the exact same thing could vary. So
Absolutely.
Want to reinforce that point.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm logged in as HR, but you can see here that HR also gets emails that are formatted to your specification with details about the request. So it says benefit enrollment request 132 awaiting your approval. Right now, keep in mind anything you see here can be changed. If there's too much information, we can reduce it. We can make anything you want to see here in the email. So right now it's showing some personal information about the employee, organization information, and then this is the actual benefit request. Our current enrollment is not enrolled for life insurance, and we want to enroll in life insurance with this plan option. And then here you can see the history. It was submitted by Edward and assigned to HR for approval. If we click back over, HR can actually go, they can log in, they can view that same request that you saw in the email, and they can download the insurance application. They can do any manual processing that's necessary for that enrollment, and then they can approve or deny the request. So everything looks good. We're going to approve that. And then that will go over to HR for approval, or I'm sorry, health and medical. So now if we log in as health and medical, they get that same, this is an approver-only role as well, so they can go to pending approvals now, and they can see that request waiting on them. And then they see the history that it was already approved by HR, they see their comment, and then they can go in and approve it.
Once again, a workflow process could be whatever you want.
Absolutely. So now we'll log in as a manager, and we'll see some manager self-service features. So you can see the menu change since Ray is a manager for the system. As a manager, we have manager's workbench, time entries. We can manage job codes and also manage positions. So we'll go into manage positions first. Here's where the manager can update any information about the positions underneath him. So if he wanted to extend the position, delete the position, he can edit the details for the position, and then he can also add a new position.
It's there.
It is?
Yeah. It's different. Your dogs can go to...
Oh, there we go.
There it is. It must be on a batch job then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's the enrollment request that we submitted. It must have been on a batch that updated after I approved. But anyway, so this is we can also add a new position here as well. And then same thing here. This workflow actually goes to, I believe, the one-up manager for the requester as well as HR for approval. And then we can also, I'll just quickly flick through some of these screens. We can manage our job codes, create a new job code. We also have the manager's workbench here. So we'll see some variation on this when I flip over to on how they have the employees organized. So right now you can see an inquire on all of Ray's employees. You can see Edward. This is the employee that we were logged in as. And then you can also change to see, instead of just the direct reports, you can also see all subordinates. So you can see right now there's 30 people. If we switch to all subordinates, we'll be able to see that there's 135 people.
Any questions?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right. So now we can also perform actions as a manager on an employee. So first things first, we can open up, we can click the link for the employee, and we can see their, essentially their profile information, as well as emergency contacts, just the same as the employee saw. And then we also can perform other actions as well. So let's say for Edward.
Hold on to that. Let's review everything there. So we'll quickly review everything under actions.
Okay.
Oh, sure. So for actions, we have manages. So this will open up a pop-up essentially with the manager's workbench for that employee. So you can see who that employee manages. You'll be able to see the leave requests for that employee. You can view their pay stub history. You can generate an employee verification letter for the employee. You can perform a managed move, which is essentially moving the team for the employee. You can change their employment conditions, and then you can also terminate the employee.
I assume that those options are totally configurable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You make the decision what we pull from J.D. Edwards, or, you know, once again, we're not limited to just J.D. Edwards. If there's other data sources or systems, many times we run into that. So absolutely, you have full control over how you exactly want it to work.
Yep. And you'll see some variation when we flip over on how they have different options for the employee.
And I know we're looking at this from a manager perspective, but you don't have to go back there. But from an HR perspective, and you're talking about third source, if there's anybody asks you an option to bring in offer accepted applicant from the ATS system for HR to do an easier way to do new hire or rehire instead of keying into J.D. Edwards?
Absolutely. What we have that feature for, we deal with employee master and address book master, where we create the address book master and employee master as part of our other products. And we are working on a feature where you can actually add an employee, like an employee onboarding, into this product. So that's something absolutely feasible.
And that's what we're going to be calling it, employee onboarding, going out to J.D. Edwards, address book revisions, creating an employee master with the associated documents that you can upload. Is that really what you're talking about, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much an opportunity for us to bring in offer applicant from our applicant tracking system, whatever data that can transfer from that system. So from an HR Workbench perspective, HR can initiate or finalize that new hire or rehire without having to rekey in a bunch of information.
Understood.
I'll just quickly go through some of these screens. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. This is the confirmation of employment. But we have managed move, which is essentially kind of, keep in mind, this is just the base module. So we're just showing examples of fields that you would update for when performing a managed move. And then we also have that same template workflow. For example, managed move, if you change the position, it will go to the receiving position's manager for approval, so he can accept the move. It can go to your manager for approval, and then it can also go to HR for approval as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary to go through each and every one of these scenarios. You get the idea, and we've been stressing, the personalization and flexibility aspect of allowing you to create it exactly as you want.
Just a quick question on that. The last four on the bottom there, when you have attachment, where are those stored?
Right now they're stored on our application server, but we also have the ability to actually upload those to J.D. Edwards as well. So let's say once the request is submitted, once the request is finally approved, we can move the attachment from our server to J.D. Edwards or pretty much any location that you would like us to move to.
Absolutely. It also depends on how much J.D. Edwards allows, where it allows us to save. Yeah. Like a Leaf doesn't have much place to save attachments, so we keep that in our system. And you can always go and look for the Leaf and look for any kind of medical document or something through our application server. But if you have like an employee has an address book where we can store attachments, then we can send the attachments to the address book.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay.
And then once again, we can work, some companies are doing things with custom tables in J.D. Edwards, and that's not an issue for us either to work against the F55, 56, et cetera tables if you want those utilized or they're being utilized.
All right, so now I'm actually gonna change computers really quick. Can you make yourself presenter? So we're going to log into the deliverable, and we'll see a different look and feel as well as some of the extra manager functionality that they have.
And this is their dev environment, so we are not showing confidential information.
Yeah, I'm not going to show any information, and we'll just do overviews of the request. So logging in as a manager. You can see they have, they organize their menus a little bit differently as well. So there's 3 employee menus, as well as the 1 manager's workbench menu, and then manager's workbench is split up into 2 different things. So you can, excuse me, you can view your people by positions, or you can view the employee master essentially. So if you go to My Positions, this is going to show a list of all the positions underneath you, as well as the employees that are inside of that position, as well as position end date, FTE, things like that. So if we click in here, you can see that this one position has 2 incumbents associated with that position. And then if we hop back over to my people, this is essentially that just list of everyone underneath you. Pretty much the same as what we saw with our manager's workbench. So if we click into an employee, this brings us to their profile, and this is where they actually have their actions defined. So if we scroll down here to the bottom, you can see they have change employee conditions, move employee, view employee leave, and then initiate employee exit.
And that answers the question that, you don't have to have all the options that we have. You can definitely choose what you want as per your date.
The change employee conditions is also a little bit different. They actually have 4 different actions all associated with this one. So you can extend a contract for an employee. You can there's a return to work request, and then I forget the other 2. But we'll look at an example of moving an employee. So they have their form set up a little bit differently. So first of all, you can see that it's not going to open a pop-up. It's actually going to go to the form itself. And this is the dev environment, so something might be building as well.
So while we wait, does the HR user have his own view, his own workbench?
Yes. So an HR user has a separate HR menu. I'll actually log in as an admin, which has access to every role, and we'll see an example of that.
Okay.
So here, you can see they have some messages here at the top specific to this request, just some instructions for the manager. You can see their current information, and then they have 2 different move types. They have managed move and a Horizons managed move. I don't remember which is which, but one means you're moving an employee across a company, I believe. So they select the type here, and then they select the new position ID. They have a lookup here with the positions from J.D. Edwards, where they can select a new position. That populates the rest of this information down here, such as the new title, new supervisor, new cost code, and then you can also change the location for the employee as well.
And everything you show me there, is referencing the role security for that user?
You mean the JD role level security for the data?
Yeah, so for that manager go in and for the new position ID and he click on that, he will only see the position, he got role security too?
Absolutely. You have full ability to maintain any kind of JDE role level security over any data query that you do. And you can even have any kind of custom logic if you want to put like, so many times we work with a company and they don't have the role security done correctly. It's not an easy thing to set up. They will actually let us use the employee address book number business unit and filter everything from there. So we can even do that on top of any other security you want.
Okay, so in that scenario, any kind of custom security setting will be outside on your app server and your database?
If you want to, yes. It's not something that we will recommend, but if you don't have this set up in JD, we'll implement it for you.
Okay.
Now we're going to show you a little bit about the technology that's driving this application. I talked about EASYProcess. And by the way, everything with EASYProcess is the modern drag and drop for work. We call it the workflow canvas, the process, working against the business functions, web parts, which is the actual a GUI look and feel. So Matt, I think you wanted to touch on the flexibility in there
Absolutely.
with the workflow
So
canvas.
what you're looking at here is the workflow canvas for the managed move. You can see that this is not just a 2-level of approval. This has conditions associated with the approval as well. So you can see the first approver is HRBP, and then inside this process here we have some logic to kind of say what happens next. So the HRBP is going to log in. He's either going to approve, deny, or reassign the request to somebody else. So based on what they select here, that's where it's actually going to exit. So if the HRBP approves, it's actually going to go to receiving position owner. If they reassign, it's going to come here, find a new person, and then come back to HRBP. So if we keep going here, we have receiving position owner, then we have receiving position owner's direct supervisor, which is another level up. We have the cost code owner. We have PDR, which is some role that they have defined. We have management, so this is the highest level of, the highest step, I believe, in that specific cost code or company, something like that. Then we have HR manager and managing director. So keep in mind, here at this PDR status, they also have logic. I believe it's on pay grade. If it's above a certain pay grade, that for the employee that you're moving, that's when it goes to these extra 3 roles for approval. If it's below that pay grade, that's when it just continues on to TR, and then also we have it looks like a few extra logic here. HR expat, which is another HR group. Then you have HR benefits, and then finally we update JDE. So this is where we actually call the business function behind the scenes, and then we also have error checking. So if for some reason that business function threw an error, it would come here, email an admin. The admin can log in and do the steps required to fix that.
Is this helpful, showing you a case scenario like that? Use case scenario?
Yeah, maybe we need an extended meeting or different meeting specifically just on the workflow. But from what I'm gathering right now is the workflow is totally customizable on your application, with also being that all the workflow approval history will be stored on your application.
And updated to JDE where appropriate. You're absolutely right. Yes.
Okay, I mean the actual system of record data will be the one that's actually going to get pushed to JD Edwards. But if I want to go in and see the workflow of who approved John Doe promotion from this to that, and those the HRBP partner that approve it, the manager that approve it, the HR management that approve it, would be all this data and historical approval history we store on this application, not in JD Edwards.
Which is correct, but doesn't mean that you cannot do it. We have some customers. Fox uses for us for employee self-service, but also uses for vendor onboarding. And there, they do want us to push in all the history of the entire tracking of who approved and when it was approved into the vendor file attachment. And that's when they go and check it anytime. JD Edwards doesn't have that kind of table structure the way we put it. So if you need to keep it, we'll put this as a text attachment to any record, whether it's that employee or whether that's with the manager, for you for any historical review or any custom table where you want to put us in.
Or as an document audit type process,
Yeah.
right?
No, I don't disagree. I do like what I see. I do see our workflow. It's going to be pretty a lot more complex than what I think JD Edwards workflow can be configured for. But I guess my really the maintainability is what I'm raising. In other words, if we have to manage workflow outside JD Edwards, all these roles and who have right to what that have to be managed outside of JD Edwards, I'm just thinking out loud what's going to be the maintainability of that for the size of our company.
Which is correct, but at the same time, in case of Ron, you saw their workflow, and they went through, they actually were using employee service of JD Edwards, and they could not make it work like how they wanted. They looked at other workflow products, and that even didn't work with the way they wanted to work with JDE. We give you both. We give you the workflow, which is outside of JD Edwards. That's correct. But if you need all that power, which JD Edwards workflow will not give you with ESS. But then we also give you connectivity to JD Edwards whenever needed, whether it's a business function or whether it's a database inquiry real time. So,
and then also keep in mind some of the roles that they have defined. So I think some of the HR roles, it's simply just I think they have like 3 different HR positions in JD Edwards. So they use that to define the role. So if you already have the role defined, we can also look that up as well.
Can I spend a few minutes and show you apps that we have?
Yeah, we only have a few minutes left, and I think it's really important to show you the mobility. And by the way, this first demonstration between our 2 companies, it's meant to be high level. We're covering a lot, and Tin, as an example, what you want to see at the detailed level with workflow or logic flow, absolutely. Let's plan other events around that. But I think that we're very proud of our native app. It's very powerful, and this could be an app that you can call HR app that you can have employees download from Apple or Google store, and it just has a lot more functionality than browser. We also have browser. Somebody could use Safari, but an app has memory. An app has its own GUI. An app has the ability to use the phone functions like photo and photo gallery and camera, such as a leave request taking up a picture of a doctor's appointment. So are you seeing the iPhone? We're actually projecting our iPhone. The only thing you're not seeing is the finger movement.
So it's a real-time projecting an iPhone 6 I have in front of me. You see the EASYProcess app, and 23 tells you that how many requests are pending against you. I can go inside, and it's has added security. I have to use a Touch ID or password, depending upon which kind of phone you have.
So once again, if the iPhone enables fingerprint security, we can work against that.
And that security actually you set here. Whether you want those security, you can have other settings that you set here. The personal information, all real time from JDE. Some information can only be tapped to display, like salary. If you don't want it to just pop out, it gives you some added privacy. Colors and font you can set up with EASYProcess. As you see, it's all with a hand gesture. I am doing this. You can slide left to see all the available features. Paste up, so you paste up again real time. This was a real time inquiry from JDE. You can slide and you can look at your PDF, which will actually generate the PDF runtime, and you can even print it. There you go. And I can click here and print it. With the phones these days, they can immediately find the printer around it. You can just select it, print it. Makes it much easier than even using your browser. Direct deposit, you can slide to edit or add. Then you have confirmation of employment. You are sitting in front of your lead in a lead office. Right there, you can print it. The data as you see here, it puts the salary, your social security number, date of birth, and again, completely configured by you how you want this PDF.
And once again, an app, unlike a browser, has memory. So if your employee was in a bank and it's the lower level without Wi-Fi or cellular connection, they can still get to it because all this is downloaded based on the last point of connectivity.
Okay, here's your leave request. Again, very much how Matt showed. You can look at the leave calendar. You can slide it through and see what your leave situations are. Pending request, we talked about that. These are the requests that actually this is the one that Matt created for 8/70 to 21 in our system. As you see how it shows up here. It actually even gives you the notifications. I don't have anyone here, but it gives you the notification that who is submitting. I can slide to approve this leave request. I can even take pictures. Say you have medical form from your employee. You can just take it. And that's the power of, you don't have to scan. It's much easier for your manager to use it. They don't have to run to a printer to approve, to find a scanner, and you approve it. As you see, it get approved. The number of requests went from 23 to 22. The thing that it will probably take a couple of minutes to do in a browser, you can do in a few seconds with the app. That's the good thing about using apps.
And once again, this approval of what he just did, remember that the manager is, the notifications are specific to the app. So most companies, they say, okay, as far as the transport mechanism for a notification, say a leave approval notification, still make it email, but definitely also send it to the app. That's where you see that little red circle with the number of notifications. And to me, that's huge because I hear time and time again, let's make it easy on our managers to do things. And if it comes as an app against app that they have on their smartphone, they know it's work-related. They know they can easily go to it and one button approve it or deny it or request for additional information.
That's all I have for the app.
The mobile app will work on both iPhone and Android.
Yes, and we are also working to make it available on Windows Phone, so it will be pretty much cross-platform.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the native app itself on the PC side work on any browser.
Yes, the demo that Matt showed is compatible with any modern browser, any browser pretty much.
Okay.
What does it require? A modern browser, or can we go back to IE8?
It works on IE8, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have some customers even using our latest version IE7. So our technology for browser is very simple, HTML based. We don't use that much of JavaScript, so it's pretty much browser agnostic right now.
Any other final thoughts? Well, if not, we appreciate the positive comments that you made. Thanks for taking your time, and have yourself a great rest of the day. Thank you very much.